Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, Chapter 14. To Janie's strange eyes, everything in the Everglades was big and new. Big Lake Okeechobee, big beans, big cane, big weeds, big everything. So what is the purpose of repeating big in this opening sentence? What do you think it is? So the purpose is to emphasize how different the Everglades are to Janie, where everything seems big and new, like it says in that first sentence. And so by repeating the word big over and over again, it gets the idea through to readers that Janie is just wide-eyed and amazed by how different this new setting is. All right, let's keep reading. Weeds that did well to grow waist high up the state were 8 and often 10 feet tall down there. Ground so rich that everything went wild. Volunteer cane just taken the place. Dirt road so rich and black that a half a mile of it would have fertilized a canvas wheat field. Wild cane on either side of the road, hiding the rest of the world. People wild too. Season don't open up till last of September, but we have to get here ahead of time to get us a room, Tea-Cake explained. 2 weeks from now, it'll be so many folks here that they won't be looking for rooms. They'll just be looking for some place to sleep. Now we got a chance to get a room at a hotel where they got a bathtub. You can't live in the muck without taking a bath every day. Do that, muck'll itch you like ants. That ain't one place around here without a bathtub. Ain't nowhere near enough rooms. What we gonna do around here? All day I'm picking beans. All night I'm picking my box and rolling dice. Between the beans and the dice, I can't lose. I'm gone right now to pick me up a job. I'll work with the best man in the muck before the rest of them get here. You can. And so if you're kind of confused, this is Tea-Cake and Janie speaking about what they're going to do in the Everglades. You can always get jobs around here in the season, but not with the right folks. So that's Tea-Cake who just spoke, and this is Janie who's speaking next. When do the jobs open up, Tea-Cake? Everybody around here look like they wait into. That's right. The big man has a certain time to open up the seasons just like in everything else. My boss man didn't get sufficient seed. He's out hunting up a few more bushels than we's going to plant. Bushels? Yeah, bushels. This ain't no game for pennies. Poor man ain't got no business at the show. The very next day, Tea-Cake burst into the room in high excitement. Boss done bought out another man and wants me to go down on the lake. He's got houses for the first one that gets there. Let's go. So, consider in the upcoming paragraph, what do Janie and Tea-Cake do in the Everglades to pass time? They rattled 9 miles in a borrowed car to the quarter that squatted so close that only the dike separated them from great sprawling Okeechobee. Janie fussed around the shack making a home while Tea-Cake planted beans. After hours they fished. Every now and then they'd run across a party of Indians in their long, narrow dugouts, calmly winning their living in the trackless ways of the glades. Finally the beans were in. Nothing much to do but wait to pick them. Tea-Cake picked his box a great deal for Janie, but he still didn't have enough to do. No need of gambling yet. The people who were pouring in were broke. They didn't come bring in money. They were coming to make some. Tell you what, Janie, let's buy us some shooting tools and go hunting around here. That'd be fine, Tea-Cake, except, I can't shoot, but I'd love to go with you. Oh, you need to learn how. Ain't no need of you not knowing how to handle a shooting tool. Even if you never need to find no game, it's always some trashy rascal that needs a good. So let's pause right there. So what do Tea-Cake and Janie do to pass time? So first, they wait for planting season to start. And then once that begins, they rush down and they get to have their pick of the houses because they got there so early. And so they have a really good situation set up for them to be successful. And once the beans are planted, then they have to wait some more, and they have to wait until the beans are ready to be picked. So we see that living on the Everglades is like bursts of hard work surrounded by waiting for things to need to be done. And then so to pass this time, Tea-Cake decides to take Janie hunting and teach her how to shoot a gun. And so that's what we'll see next. It's always some trashy rascal that needs a good killing, he laughed. Let's go into Palm Beach and spend some of our money. Every day they were practicing. Tea-Cake made her shoot at little things just to give her good aim. Pistol and shotgun and rifle. It got so the others stood around and watched them. Some of the men would beg for a shot at the target themselves. It was the most exciting thing on the muck. Better than the juke and the pool room, unless some special band was playing for a dance. And the thing that got everybody was the way Janie caught on. She got to the place where she could shoot a hawk out of a pine tree and not tear him up. Shoot his head off. She got to be a better shot than Tea Cake. They'd go out any late afternoon and come back loaded down with game. One night they got a boat and went out hunting alligators, shining their phosphorescent eyes and shooting them in the dark. They could sell the hide and teeth in Palm Beach, besides having fun together till the work got pressing. So know how Janie becomes a better shot than Tea Cake. So we can tell throughout the story that Janie is hot-headed and stubborn, but also very capable. Like, she's able to take care of herself. And the fact that she's able to pick up shooting so well demonstrates again how Janie is smart and capable and able. So day by day now, the hordes of workers poured in. Some came limping in with their shoes some came limping in with their shoes and sore feet from walking. It's hard trying to follow your shoe instead of your shoe following you. They came in wagons from way up in Georgia, and they came in truckloads from east, west, north, and south. Permanent transients with no attachments, and tired-looking men with their families and dogs and flivvers. All night, all day, hurrying in to pick beans, skillets, beds, patched up square inner tubes, all hanging and dangling from the ancient cars on the outside, and hopeful humanity herded and hovered on the inside, chugging on the muck. People ugly from ignorance and broken from being poor. All night now, the jukes clanged and clamored, pianos living 3 lifetimes in one, blues made and used right on the spot. Dancing, fighting, singing, crying, laughing, winning and losing, love hour, every hour. Work all day for money, fight all night for love. The rich black earth clinging to bodies and biting the skin like ants. So this part is really pretty in the way it's worded, where it almost sounds like a song because of all the rhythms that Hurston creates in her listing. And so that's really well done and something you might have noticed. If you're writing a poem or a song for your project, you might kind of imitate some of the writing she has here and try to create similar rhythms in your own writing. Just something to think about. So let's go to the next page. Finally, no more sleeping places. Men made big fires, and 50 or 60 men slept around each fire. So what Tea Cake warned about happened, where he said after a while there would be no more places, like no more houses or hotels to stay in, and people would just be looking for places to sleep. And so that's what happened now. So many people have showed up that they're just sleeping on the ground around fires. But they had to pay the man whose land they slept on. He ran the fire just like his boarding place, for pay. But nobody cared. They made good money, even to the children. So they spent good money. Next month and next year were other times. No need to mix them up with the present. Tea Cake's house was a magnet, the unauthorized center of the job. The way he would sit in the doorway and play his guitar made people stop and listen, and maybe disappoint the juke for that night. He was always laughing and full of fun, too. He kept everybody laughing in the bean field. Janie stayed home and boiled big pots of black-eyed peas and rice. Sometimes baked big pans of navy beans with plenty of sugar and hunk of bacon lying on top. That was something Tea Cake loved, so no matter if Janie had fixed beans 2 or 3 times during the week, they had baked beans again on Sunday. She always had some kind of dessert, too. As Tea Cake said, it gave a man something to taper off on. Sometimes she straightened out the 2-room house and take the rifle and have fried rabbit for supper when Tea Cake got home. She didn't leave him itching and scratching in his work clothes either. The kettle of hot water was already waiting when he got in. Then Tea Cake took to popping in at the kitchen door at odd hours, between breakfast and dinner sometimes. Then often around 2 o'clock he'd come home and tease and wrestle with her for about a half an hour and slip on back to work. So one day she asked him about it. "Tea Cake, what are you doing back in the quarters when everybody else is still working?" "Come to see about you. The boogeyman liable to tote you off whilst I'm gone." So the conversation they're about to have explains why does Tea Cake come home during the workday to see Janie. So Janie's asked Tea Cake why he has time to come home during the day to see her when everybody else is still working. So why does Tea Cake do this? This is Janie speaking. "Ain't no booger man got to study about. Maybe you think I ain't treating you right and you watching me. No, Janie, I know better than that. But since you got that in your head, I'll have to tell you the real truth so you can know. Janie, I gets a bit lonely out there all day without you. After this, you better come and get a job and work out there like the rest of the women, so I don't be losing time coming home. Tea Cake, you's a mess. Can't you do without me that little time?" "Ain't no little time. It's near about all day." So the very next morning, so let's pause right there. So why does Tea Cake come home? So Janie asks Tea Cake if he comes home because he doesn't trust her. And Tea Cake says that's not the case. He admits that he comes home because he misses her while he's out all day. And so Tea Cake wants Janie to come out and work with the rest of them, and Janie accepts and joins him. And this is a huge change in Janie. Think about Janie with Logan and Janie with Jody. She didn't like to work, she didn't like having to do the housework, and she resented both Logan and Jody for making her do those things. But here, Janie wants to go and work with Tea Cake because she enjoys spending time with him, and it doesn't matter what they're doing as long as they're doing it together. So that's a huge change in the relationship that we see. So the very next morning, Janie got ready to pick beans along with Tea Cake. There was a suppressed murmur when she picked up a basket and went to work. She was already getting to be a special case on the Muck. It was generally assumed that she thought herself too good to work like the rest of the women, and that Tea Cake pumped her up like that. But all day long, the romping and playing they carried on behind the boss's back made her popular right away. It got the whole field playing off and on. Then Tea Cake would help get supper afterwards. You don't think I'm trying to get you out of taking care of you, do you, Janie? 'Cause I asked you to work alongside of me. Tea Cake asked her at the end of her first week in the field. Oh no, honey, I like it. It's more nicer than sitting around these quarters all day. Clerking in that store was hard, but here we ain't got nothing to do but our work and come home and love. The house was full of people every night, that is, all around the doorstep was full. Some were there to hear Tea Cake pick the box, some came to talk and tell stories, but most of them came to get into whatever game was going on or might go on. Sometimes Tea Cake lost heavily, for there were several good gamblers on the lake. Sometimes he won and made Janie proud of his skill. But outside of the two jukes, everything on the job went on around those two. So note how Janie, and I mentioned this already, I guess I stole my own thunder, but note how Janie has changed in this relationship. She happily cares for Tea Cake and happily works with him, works the land with him, and so consider why has she changed. So consider that while we continue reading. All right, got 2 pages left. I want to get it done in this video, so let's get going. Sometimes Janie would think of the old days in the big white house and the store and laugh to herself. What if Eatonville could see her now in her blue denim overalls and heavy shoes? The crowd of people around her and the dice game on the floor. She was sorry for her friends back there and scornful of the others. The men held big arguments here like they used to on the store porch. Only here she could listen and laugh and even talk some herself if she wanted to. She got so she could tell big stories herself from listening to the rest. Because she loved to hear it and the men loved to hear themselves, they would woof and booger-boo around the games to the limit. No matter how rough it was, people seldom got mad, because everything was done for a laugh. Everybody loved to hear Ed Dockery, Bootany, and Sop to Bottom in a skin game. Ed Dockery was dealing one night and he looked over at Sop to Bottom's card and he could tell Sop thought he was going to win. He hollered, I'll break up that setting up eggs. Sop looked and said, root to peg. Bootany asked, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do. Everybody was watching. The next card fall. Ed got ready to turn. I'm going to sweep out hell and burn up the broom. He slammed down another $1. Don't oversport yourself, Ed, Bootany challenged. You get $2. Ed caught hold of the corner of the card. Sop dropped $1. I'm going to shoot in the hearse. Don't care how sad the funeral be, Ed said. You see how this man is teasing hell? Tea Cake nudged Sop not to bet. You're going to get caught up in the bullet storm if you don't watch out. Sop said, ain't nothing to bear but his curly hair. I can look through the muddy water and see dry land. Ed turned off the card and hollered, Zachariah, I says come down out of that sycamore tree. You can't do no business. Nobody fell on that card. Everybody was scared of the next one. Ed looked around and saw Gabe standing behind his chair and hollered, move from over me, Gabe. You too black. You draw heat. Sop, you wants to pick up the bet whilst you got a chance? Nah, man. I wish I had 1,000 legs to put on it. So, you wasn't listening, huh? Dumb men in free schools, I'm going to take and teach you. I'll mainline, but I won't sidetrack. Ed flipped the next card and Sop fell and lost. Everybody hollered and laughed. Ed laughed and said, get off the Muck. You ain't nothing. That's all. Hot boiling water won't help you none. Ed kept on laughing because he had been so scared before. Stop, Bootany. All y'all that let me win your money, I'm sending off straight to Sears and Roebuck's and buy me some clothes. And I turn out Christmas Day, it would take a doctor to tell me how near I was dressed to death. So, that's a lot, and it might be very confusing. And if you're confused, you're not alone. So what is the purpose of the final 2 pages? So it contrasts Janie's memories of the store and the porch. People are not as serious on the Everglades. They play and laugh all day, and Janie's enjoying herself even though she's working in the muck. And in the last 2 pages, all that dialogue is mushed together to show the laughter, the teasing, the gambling, and all the fun they're having, and how it creates this fun, kind of chaotic scene. All right, that's it for chapter 14. I'll see you in a minute for chapter 15. Bye.